Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Julie Smyth. Today's top stories. The Health Minister says no other counties are under imminent risk of going into level 3. The waiting list for diagnostic angiograms in Waterford has now reached 653. The European Commission will appeal the Apple tax ruling. And in sport, Gaultier forward JJ Hutchinson will miss Sunday's county semi-final with Rathgormack. The Health Minister has reassured the public that no other counties are at imminent risk of moving to level 3. Donegal will move to level 3 tonight after the number of cases in the county grew by 600% in the last 2 weeks compared to the previous two. The incidence of COVID-19 in parts of Waterford City more than doubled in the space of a week, according to new figures released by the Department of Health. They look at the 2 weeks up to midnight on Monday. There has been a very slight, if any, increase in cases in Waterford since then. WLR's Sinead Ahern has the details.
The breakdown of COVID-19 cases by local electoral area is now released on a weekly basis. The latest release shows that Tramore, Waterford City West continues to have the highest numbers. 30 cases were confirmed in the 2 weeks up until Monday. That's up from 23 cases a week before. The incidence rate per 100,000 people is now up to 134 there. That electoral area stretches from Tramore through parts of Waterford City like Ballybricken and O'Connell Street over as far as Ferrybank. In Waterford City South, the number of cases more than doubled, up from 12 to 28. That gives a 14-day incidence rate in that area of 124. There's also an increase in Waterford City East. It's up from 16 cases a week ago to 28 cases during the 2 weeks ending on Monday night. The rate there is now 121 per 100,000. In County Waterford, fewer than 5 cases were recorded in the Dungarvan and Lismore electoral areas, while in Portlaw, Kilmacthomas, there was an increase of 1 case to 6. Waterford hasn't been included in the list of counties with high numbers of cases in recent days, and there were no cases confirmed in Waterford on Tuesday. That means that the release next week should be more positive.
The Finance Minister says people who were paid through the wage subsidy scheme won't have to repay any tax they owe until 2022. Over 660,000 workers were paid through the scheme at the height of lockdown but weren't taxed at the time. People can pay whatever they owe in a lump sum or spread the cost over 4 years. Minister Paschal Donohoe thinks it's a fair resolution to the problem.
And while I do expect the tax liability that could develop to be small, this has been a very, very difficult year for so many, and allowing this to be paid off over a number of years should hopefully allow this matter to be dealt with in a way that is careful and fair for all.
The government will examine legal documents from the European Commission after it chose to appeal the Apple tax ruling. In July, the EU General Court threw out the Commission's ruling that Ireland must collect €13 billion in unpaid taxes from the tech giant. The initial ruling took 4 years to get to, and it's expected the appeal could last as long. The waiting list for diagnostic angiograms in Waterford has now reached 653, according to information supplied to Waterford TD Matt Shanahan. Raising the issue in the Dáil, he said there was an urgent need to review the situation as the overall cardiac waiting list is now back at levels not seen in 3 years. The independent deputy said the building of the second cath lab at University Hospital Waterford needed to be fast-tracked.
The money has been ring-fenced for almost 18 months now, and yet we're talking about entering a 4-month procurement process on a project that should have started. And could I also confirm yesterday from the House, the Taoiseach advised that there was diagnostic angiogram activity going on through an SLA in Waterford with the Whitfield Hospital. That is not the case. So we have been delaying diagnostic angiograms at UHW now since February, 30 angiograms a week. And I'd ask that the government would review this, please.
Responding, Minister Eamon Ryan acknowledged the situation is frustrating.
As to why that 4-month period is deeply frustrating in our state, it does. Unfortunately, I've seen it in so many different areas. And I suppose the only best honest answer is we do procurement to the .T proper so that there's never any question and that it's safe from any legal challenge. But we would certainly, and I'm sure you will not be alone among the deputies from Waterford in this House in asking that it would be expedited, and I'll certainly pass that on and try and make sure that is shortened as best we can.
Official reports of emotional abuse of children increased by 65% in the space of a month. New TUSLA figures show they rose from 258 in May to 426 in June. The overall number of child abuse reports rose to their highest level in a year in June, which also includes sexual and physical abuse and neglect. 3 areas had more than 100 reports: Dublin South West, Kildare, West Wicklow, the Midlands and Galway Roscommon. Assistant Professor of Social Work in UCD, Joseph Mooney, says the spike in emotional abuse may be linked to a rise in domestic violence during the lockdown.
The stats in relation to mandated reports coming from domestic violence shelters has risen month on month since we have these breakdowns of mandated reports available from March of this year. So they go from March, 14 reports, April 22, May 34 and 42 this month of reports in June. So that maybe lends some evidence behind that this is potentially attributable to a spike in domestic violence instances.
2 people have reportedly been injured following a knife attack in Paris near the former offices of the satirical newspaper Charlie Hebdo. A suspect is said to have been apprehended. Islamic extremists attacked the publication's staff in 2015, killing 12 people. There are fears that without forestry sector reforms, hundreds of jobs could be lost in Waterford. Delays in the licensing process for tree felling is leading to timber shortages across the country. A bill is currently before the Houses of the Oireachtas, which aims to change the way appeals against forestry licences are handled. Fine Gael's John Cummins says 470 jobs are reliant on the industry locally.
I've had discussions where concerns have been expressed to me by Smartply in Waterford that are located, very significant company with over 150 employees in the port of Waterford at Bellevue that create high quality for the national and international market, and they're fast running out of raw materials.
With their traditional run and walk for life going virtual this year, Solace are asking people and businesses to go orange to support the Cancer Support Centre. This year's virtual event is not a set distance. It can be anywhere from 1 kilometre to 10 kilometres. Across the board, fundraisers have suffered greatly during the COVID pandemic, and Solace is asking people to donate even if they can't take part in the run or walk. Tracy McDade is manager of the Cancer Support Centre. She explains how businesses can get involved.
With this changed landscape, maybe companies might come on board with a challenge of a certain distance. So maybe a company might suggest a 100k challenge, and that a number of people within the company will aim to hit that challenge. So it's really whatever a company can do to maybe from a team building point of view, or getting a team together on a particular day, but in supporting the event over the weekend of the 9th to the 11th of October.
Sports News on WLR.
With Virgin Media Waterford. Want super fast broadband today? Drop into Virgin Media George's Street and take it home with you. Easy as that.
A very good afternoon from the sports desk. I'm Nigel Kelly. Starting with Gaelic games where Galtier will meet county champions Rathcormac this Sunday for their senior football semi-final in Welsh Park, but they're going to have to do it without JJ Hutchinson, however, as the forward has not had his red card from last weekend successfully appealed. He will now serve a 1-match suspension, but could feature in the final for Galtier if they reach it. His brother Desi will still be available for Galtier, and Waterford football boss Benji Whelan says that Rathcormac will be looking to shut him down.
Don't get me wrong, Desi's a top operator, absolutely top, and we'd love to have him. He knows that. But the point about it is that Desi has to operate in some form of space. I don't see space to breathe on that pitch when they take the field against him, and that's the problem he's going to have. Is that any time he gets the ball, there's going to be somebody breathing down his neck. Now look, they may capitalise on a few frees, but if Desi doesn't score, which is averaging probably around a 1-5, 1-6. It takes a huge amount out of the Galtier challenge, and that's the concern I'd have, and that's obviously where Rathcormac will be going.
Elsewhere, tomorrow's semi-final of Ballynacorty and the Nair is still set to be played, even though beside Ballynacorty GAA Club have suspended all activities at adult and juvenile levels, as a member of the senior football team is currently awaiting a test for COVID-19. The player has been classified as a close contact of a person who has tested positive for the virus. We'll have live commentary of both games on WLR thanks to George Corbett Skoda. Elsewhere in the League of Ireland, new Waterford FC assistant manager David Breen says he is looking forward to working with Franny Rocket. It was confirmed yesterday that Tramore native Rocket will take charge of the Blues until the end of the season. David Breen, a former Waterford FC player and coach, returns after a spell in Wexford. He says he hasn't worked with Franny Rocket before.
Obviously played with him and know him numerous amount of years there. And look, Franny is great. Franny, a real positive guy, bundles of energy, which I think that'll roll over onto the team, to be fair. but really positive. And look, it needs to be in there. Look, as I said, the lads there have been around. I mean, there's great experience along with young players in there. So look, Franny's positivity and real want to do well should roll onto the team, and we should help come training and match nights.
And we'll have live commentary on WLR thanks to McConnell's Toyota Waterford with Matt Keane and Ray Scott on commentary duty. Moving to the Premier League, where Gareth Bale says his experiences at Real Madrid have helped him to grow as a person as well as a footballer. The Welsh midfielder is back at his former club Tottenham on loan after falling out of favour in the Spanish capital. Bale tells Sky Sports News he's learnt a lot in his time away from North London.
Obviously I've been in immense pressure situations. I've had people on the pitch whistling in the stadium to me. So yeah, I've just learned how to deal with those type of things, to kind of not take it too seriously, take it too much to heart, and yeah, just get on with it. It's football, something that you love doing, and you just need to give your best, and sometimes that's all you can do.
Elsewhere, and Man United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer insists that he has faith in his squad despite last weekend's 3-1 home defeat against Crystal Palace. Fans have been frustrated with the lack of transfer activity at Old Trafford, with only Donny van de Beek bought from Ajax. United boss Solskjaer says even without further additions they have players to contend.
As I've said so many times, I'm very confident in my players. We're just working on getting better. My focus is solely on the game. I can't be thinking any other way now. We need 3 points in this game, and then we can talk again.
And in golf, Padraig Harrington has falling further down the leaderboard early on day 2 of the Irish Open at Galgorm Castle. The 2007 winner has dropped back to 2 over par, 2 holes into his second round. Cork amateur James Sugru is best of the Irish in 5th place and tees off at 20-3. He is 3 under and 2 back from the leaders Aaron Roy, Dean Burmester and Jordan Smyth. Shane Lowry has a 2:30 start but faces a battle to make the cut on 5 over. And among the other Irish in the field is Damien McGrain on level par, while Paul Dunn is 3 over. Sports news on WLR is thanks to Virgin Media Waterford. And WLR asks you to keep Waterford safe by reducing your social contacts.